The audio's recording. We're not live yet. We're not live yet. We are not live.
Here I am with Natty. Yeah, we had to do some last minute shit. And this is going to be great.
Lovely. All right. Camera's recording. That camera's recording. This mic is on. The audio is on.
This mic is on.
And we are live. Alrighty.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Basik Conversations. Today we have a very special episode. This is my boy Natty.
It's cracking. It's cracking.
There he is.
There's a second mic somewhere over here. Second cam over here. It's cracking.
Dear friend, and this is something we have planned for a little bit, and again, this was all sudden, so I'm very excited to see where this goes. Natty, can you care to explain yourself a little bit?
Of course. Why wouldn't I? So just so y'all know, we're like 3 pods in the Basic podcast right now?
5.
5. Oh, technically 5 because you did 2 other ones, yes. So long story short, me and Basic, we go way back. I knew him by his government name, which I shall not say for legal reasons. But I actually met Basic through my homie Bogus. Shout out to Bogus the Kid. Music coming very, very soon.
Like 3-4 years ago now.
I think? Something wild. Actually, nah, bro. We're talking like 2017 down here, like 2018 right there.
For real?
Yeah, because here's the thing. We knew we knew of each other and kind of hung out before like 2018, 2019. But we really didn't hang out till like after COVID.
Yeah.
Like we knew about each other and we're like, oh yeah, I'm cool with him. No. Like we've done stuff, but but it wasn't like, like that's Bogus's homie. That wasn't it wasn't like we were like doing shit. Like it's really hard to say.
Because we would just go over like for that little anime times we did to hang out.
Yeah.
Shout
out to anime. Doing the numbers.
Did the music video. I still remember the birthday celebration there.
Yeah, dude. It's we go back, but yeah, just not to drag it on too long. Because fun fact, y'all know I drag shit out because I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we met through my homie Bogus, and then kind of just from there, we've kept the brotherhood, kind of kept the friendship, and then Basic was like, "Yo, I do these podcasts," and I was like, "Yo, I do audio," and then like. We merge forces, and then now we bring you today's episode, which is we got some fun stuff. Actually, some also not so fun stuff, but I mean, we're gonna do it all.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna do it all. So yeah, I'm your boy. I'm a producer, by the way, if I didn't already mention that. Creative, entrepreneur, play guitar predominantly, and I make music that scares the hoes.
He's scared the hoes.
Scare the hoes music. I'm just saying, if it doesn't do that, is it my music? Probably not.
Is that what you want to do, Natty? What do you want to attract besides the hoes then?
Here's the thing. I don't want to attract hoes. I want to attract foes.
Foes?
Yeah, because I want ops. No, I'm kidding.
He said I'm
bullshitting. To be honest, though, actually, I want to make music that just inspires people. So, what art really in general. So we all doing that.
Yes, sir.
Now, what are we going to do in today's episode? You tell me, Mr. Basic Sean, what we got on the docket. What we spitting on today?
Well,
respectfully.
what are we spitting on right now? Before we get into that, since you gave yourself a little intro, I didn't think about it. For those that don't already know, and I mean, we'll dive into it at another time and probably get into what I feel about it, but I'm also a supervisor in warehousing, but I do photography and trying to do these podcasts that, again, this will be our 6th episode, but I'm excited to see how we expand into it. And of course, throughout the different episodes, you'll find out more to where we're going with everything. But I did want to get into, so we planned this little assortment out, and the first thing we do want to talk about for those that are interested is I wish we should have practiced his pronunciation of his name.
Oh, dude, hey, we're about to butcher this name. Just so y'all know, we're about to try this, but it probably won't go well, to be honest.
So I was talking about to Natty about just different things that were going on, and one thing that kind of stuck out to me the most, like within the last week, was I've been recently getting back into sports slowly, like watching the Cowboys. My friend got me started with the Cowboys, and so now I'm just overall okay. I'm trying to get back into sports here, like watch, I guess, just at least the Texas teams.
Got you.
So Cowboys, and then the Rangers won the World Series. I'm glad I was able to watch most of that.
Shout out,
shout out
Rangers fans. You know, hey,
Rangers.
People's hating. They was on the Texans' ass, and then now y'all did it. Shout out.
So since getting back into the sports, I heard about this Shohei Ohtani is how I'm gonna say his name. Sorry if I butcher his name though, but I just heard he's a great player. He's Japanese. I don't know his age, and I just heard he was like the hype because he was an open agent now, and that was like the big talk of like, oh damn, who's gonna go? I heard. The only two teams I did know was Dodgers and Rangers were looking into him. I'm not sure who else was really looking, but I was like, okay. I was really hoping for the Rangers, of course, because that would have
that would have been like another story, like, you know, free agent. Which, by the way, just for context, because I can actually add some context to this conversation. So, back in the day, like I want to say mid to 2010s, I got into this anime. Called Major. For those of you who know what this anime is, y'all are real ones. So it was probably one of the bigger animes that
baseball?
Baseball. But not just any base. Because, like, okay, sports anime gets a bad rep for relatively being mundane, typically compared to other types of stories within the manga and anime space. But there are few that rise to the ranks that just do something magical. And Major was one of them. Because it follows this main character from his childhood, because his dad was like a professional baseball player, but in the Japanese leagues. And you follow him from like, you know, adolescence to then, you know, elementary school kind of, or like, I guess primary school or whatever they would call it in Japan. And then from there, you follow him to middle school, and then you follow him from middle school to high school. So like each of them are like seasons and arcs, right? But then he has this like kind of final arc where he goes into pros, and he goes to like the U.S., and it's like this whole thing. And although Major isn't as big as Slam Dunk, which Slam Dunk, it like
I've heard of Slam Dunk.
Changed how Japan looked at sports. From the manga of basketball, you know what I mean? So it's like that's its own thing, right? Takahiko Ino, he did Vagabond, went to go do a bunch of dope shit. Real, another one by like wheelchair basketball, all this shit, right?
I heard Blue Lock is a really good one.
Yes, that's soccer, bro. Blue Lock. Here's the thing: it gets hate. But for the most part, it's a pretty solid story in the sense of it attacks the ego aspect of sports, because usually like most sports anime are like team based, or like it's the character development of the main character and an assortment of other characters who are relatively relatable to the reader, right? But with Blue Lock, it's like no, it's dealing with like alphas and like dudes who want to be the best, but they're all in the same place trying to like, you know, become more or some shit. But to be honest, I haven't read past chapter 10, so I'm still reading it. But to bring this back to our boy Shohei Ohtani, why I think this is dope is because his story is like a microcosm of like the Japanese spirit that seeps into like other things that they do. Because like I'm like an avid observer of like that type of stuff. And like from that anime of Major, it's funny, like that anime and manga got me more into baseball than being in the US, like around like, you know, Dominicans, like people who are like doing baseball like all the time, right? And it's crazy because like they have this mentality, like if you break into like the pros, like you are representing your country. And I feel like a lot of just professionals that are Japanese, I know it's not for all of them, but like a good majority, like this dude's story, if you're getting 680 million, pretty much rounding up to 700, let's just be safe, right? 700 mil on your contract, it's not common behavior to defer that payment. Especially early on, right? Like, you can imagine just some dudes just like blowing money when they first get it, not knowing what to do. You hear like I hear stories from basketball side because that was my sport I still keep up with, right? But like this dude is like, yo, pay me a little bit on the front end so I don't go crazy, right? And imagine, bro, later in his years, this nigga's gonna get bread. He's gonna have he's gonna have more money than he would have because he's gonna like not blow through because he has less of it. And then on top of that, even if he does fuck that up, he has so much opportunity to recoup and go back again. So it's just, I know we're like kind of overreading this low key, but I just really want to point out like this is like one of them situations where I'm like, that's like a character based decision. Like somebody on his team was like, yeah, we're gonna make a good business decision. He's like, yeah, I want to do this because of this. At least that's what I'm reading, right? Who the fuck knows? But that's what I'm seeing from this situation.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it perfectly, honestly, because that's the thing. Like, all I know, he's like a great pitcher. He's a pitcher, and that's where I'm just like, okay, the Dodgers really spent money on keeping him. Like, I don't think.
I mean, shit.
That's why I wish I knew his age, because even then, I don't even know the age cap. I don't even know the age cap for like most major pros. So like,
yeah, like what?
Like, dude, you're 10 years of him being in the Dodgers, and like after that point
which is also a commitment too. Like low-key, like how would what would be the way of buying out of that contract if you wanted to trade? Like what if they got trashed like 5 years in? Does that fuck up? Does that mess up the bag? Does he still get the 700?
That's true.
That's wild. I'm just saying. Like
that would be weird. Like if everything just started fucking up, becomes like the worst player.
Bro, all of it. It's just like we're all like hyping him up.
Social anxiety comes through.
Hey, pressure. That's one thing to be said though. Like imagine you have. Like, you worked all your life. Fucking went ham. Damn. And then you see those, like, 7, 8, 9 digits on a piece of paper. Like, will you be the same dude?
He's like, now I got to live up to a hype.
Yeah, like, hold up now. Like, what am I going to do? Which, shout out to LeBron for living up to the hype. That real ass, nigga. Anyway.
What do you mean? Like, him making...
I mean, just
like as far as he went?
Bro, he went... Well, here's the thing.
I haven't been watching basketball.
No, I get you. I get you. Trust me, I'm doing like low context. Okay. You shouldn't eat too much. With LeBron, what makes his case for his greatness very difficult to like go against is because he had such high expectations given to him at such an early age. Like imagine your high school career of just basketball, which is usually like your formative career. Like, you probably spent middle school working on your technique and shit like that. But then high school is really where you try to really get, go AU and all this shit, right? This dude had like NBA players going to see him.
Okay.
In his basketball games, right?
Hey.
At high school.
I just known he was like popular at high school, like with the basketball. I didn't know.
Exactly. No, he was like popular. But like he was like the dudes that get like Austin Rivers and all them that have crazy basketball mixtapes, like, he was going crazy, like Zion Williamson type vibes. But like what separates him from most other people that are in that conversation, even from high school, like Kobe, he was like, same deal, right?
Yeah.
What separates him from the others type of vibe is he had that greatness moniker that he didn't probably try to start the narrative, I wouldn't say, but the narrative definitely started when he entered the league. Mm-hmm. So it's like from high school to the league, which is already a whole thing in itself. Like very few people did it, like B. Lou and a couple other people. Mm-hmm. And then to make things worse, it's like, like James, the idea of like being a dominant force, no one really being able to do anything. Like he kind of like Shaq, but then also having like the mentality and the skill of like, these other point guards and shit like that. Yeah. Obviously great shooter. Well, that's a lie. He didn't really have a jump shot, but he was able to get his points where he needed to get them, and he was very intelligent. So it's like all these expectations and shit put on him, and he was able to still rise to the occasion. Granted, he failed along the way quite a bit. Like Dallas Mavericks, he had like a season with them in the finals where he collapsed, broke down, hurts his GOAT conversation a lot. Damn. But keep in mind, this nigga's had this type of like expectation put on him since high school. Yeah. So it's like in comparison, because we don't look up the stats just yet. We're still figuring this shit out. But however old our boy Otani is, like $700 million, 10-year contract, willing to take the $2 million until to defer like the $68 million later. Like I see a dude who is aware of like the opportunities in front of him. Oh yeah, and being like, I don't want to waste it. Oh no, that's what that's like from my limited knowledge of the situation. Without a doubt, which I think is dope as fuck. Shout out to the dude. Shout out to Shohei.
Shout out to Shohei, man. Like, I'm excited. I'm probably gonna have to pay attention to the Dodgers a little bit just to see where he goes.
Shit, same. Yo, speaking of paying attention, bro. Last night, did you see Kai Cenat's stream?
No, I didn't.
Dog. So Nikki came on Kai Cenat's stream. Okay. And for the world and for those who maybe didn't watch, we finally got to see Mrs. Minaj partake in the AMP shenanigans. And one of my favorite clips from the night is the Queen Barb's, don't get mad at me. I'm fully an appreciator of the queen. She twerked for the people.
She twerked for the
people, man. And it was just, you know, I have my thoughts.
He said, I have my thoughts.
I have my thoughts on these things. All of them are irrelevant. All of them are irrelevant. I just want y'all to know. I was incredibly happy.
Okay. See, I have to see this for myself.
No, see, hold up. Now I got to find it. Because if I don't find this for my dog, just hold up now. You got to talk to the people real quick, baby. So, I got to get this going. Because this is a must-react piece of clip for my guy. Just give me 1 second here. We're going to get this loaded.
So one of the few clips I've seen was he did it with Ice Spice.
Yes.
That one was pretty nice. They did a little dance. You know, I want to...
First thing, let's see what it's doing.
Really?
First thing.
Got it.
And they already got the live up. Hold up.
We got best moments.
No, we got to have the best.
Oh, my fault. I got it.
Yes, sir. I
got a nigga minute. What's up? What they? Oh, we got the Christmas light. Is that her right there?
Yes, sir. Hold on. Well, I'm gonna try and fast forward to the special moment. Oh, we're about to. I gotta find it. Keep in mind, everybody was just like
cheesing down.
Like, oh my gosh.
Okay, who's all in the room?
There it is.
Okay. Oh, she's getting into it.
Sir, come on.
Yeah. Oh.
Product placement, of course. No,
Oh.
I don't want to see that nigga.
He said, I don't care about him.
None of these niggas. Where that? I know
it's not there.
No, it's coming. It's right around here. Oh, there it was.
Are they playing new music or just music?
No, yeah, they got to mute it because, you know, legal reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. They're coming. Come right here. Yeah. Hey. No, they cut it.
Damn. They're not going to put it on the YouTube.
All I'm going to say is, yo, it was a beautiful time for the culture. Specifically, when I say culture, I mean me. All right? Amazing. But no, okay, so I bring that up because I actually I wanted to talk about this for the pod, all right? So I've been noticing just like Kai Cenat being probably a symptom of this more recently, but like, dog, dude, streamers are like, for sure, in my personal opinion, like the new rappers.
The new rappers?
They're the new rappers, bro. Because like, rappers are never going to go.
Like a content.
I'm talking purely from a social, like like the proverbial water pool conversation of society. People who have like influence to influence the next generation, which there are many, political, you know, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But as far as the kids' eyes are concerned, from what I'm seeing and what I'm like perceiving, bro, it's these like content creators, these podcasters, these streamers who are building an audience from their authentic personality and what they believe in and what they stand for. And what I'm noticing with just like the newer generation of kids, like they could give a fuck if you have an aesthetic platform. They could give a fuck if you're like, you know, a big name brand. Like, what are you for? What are you standing for? Like,
exactly.
And with Kai, like one thing I noticed, because like if you see the clips of him and you just see the highlights, like I don't know if you're familiar with the riot that happened earlier this year with him, where it's like he had a bunch of fans. They came out, started a riot, got the dude in jail. He started streaming from jail. Bro, whole other thing, right? But it's just like, it's almost like a movie. How much like these like creators have sway over this newer generation. Yeah. Like it's kind of wild. And it's kind of similar to how hip hop and rap sort of formulated, I would say the millennial, kind of like our generation, I guess, more or less. Cause it's like music was such a big part. Now we can talk for days about how streaming kind of fucked that up in terms of the magic of music, kind of with more technology, kind of like blurring the line between like an artist and just like another dude in his bedroom. Yeah. You can argue that, right? Like the death of the superstar, all this stuff. Okay. But like with shit like this, because you got to think, like, Nicki Minaj is from that era where it's like, there was a time when both me, you, and Alive, where Nicki Minaj was like the rookie. Yeah. You know what I mean? like if you think about it, like, she was like the newer person on the block. Like, there was no Lil Kim and like Missy Elliott and Queen Latifah. But like, dude.
She was one of
the newer persons that one.
Definitely one of the most prominent females.
Dog. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, if you look at the Barb community.
Barb community?
Yeah, that's like her fan base, like the Barbies, like the Barbs.
Okay.
My guy, dude, dangerous. Which once again, Barbs, I love Nikki. I appreciate Nikki. Twerking Nikki is great. I love y'all. Don't hate me. Please, I love you. But yeah, I just felt this. It's just very good to bring up because, like, bro, streaming, like, the culture around it, even the personality. Because Kai Cenat, like, if you just look at his highlights, damn, got distracted. Like, you would think he's just like this, you know, clickbaity, super just like whatever the fuck kind of guy. But I was like on the stream actually like watching it and shit. I'm like, yo, this dude's just a normal ass young dude just having fun. Yeah. And just like, you know, dude saying bro, like saying the craziest shit on stream, and he has to like go bot them like, yo, Ryan, kick him, yo, ban him, like just like really like actually taking initiative to like make sure, you know, the younger audience still can take part in the content they're making. Okay. Even though it's still very much like vulgar to a degree, right?
Yeah.
Like you could argue, you know, there's always an arguable point. Some Karen out there is going to be like an asshole.
Yeah.
But I just brought it up because I'm like, dude, like, it's an interesting wave I'm seeing. Like these moments with Nicki Minaj, he had Offset on his podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, well, not podcast, but his stream. Yeah. And like Offset like hit him up afterwards like, yo, like this was a dope experience. Like, thank you. I had fun. Which
he said it was like one of the first times. I heard about that story.
But then like now check this out. Counteract that with like, I don't know if you heard about her, Bobby Altoff. That one chick that like kind of took Funny Marco's swag and then like
I'm interested into seeing where she's going because I kind of pay attention to her. She seems
to still be going ham.
Yeah,
from what I see.
She recently did some Botox and all that.
Yeah, that was like, Bobby Lee. He was like Bobby Lee. It was a whole thing. But like the reason why I bring her up is like you have Offset on her podcast and you see how like she totally, even though she kind of didn't fumble the bag and still was able to leverage it sort of a way. Like Offset very much came on that platform. He had a totally different energy than he was at Kai. Now, granted, he still had fun, but it was like, oh, you trying to shit on me? Like you're not even trying to like get to know me or nothing like that. Like it was like a whole bit that she's been doing.
Yeah, because of the whole rude thing.
Exactly. But it's like you got Kai over here and all these other dudes at AMP, even fucking Phantom, bro. I don't know how Phantom found a way to indoctrinate himself within the newer generation, but them kids love this dude. You know what I mean? Like he's immortalized himself. Like. And these are like just case studies. You got other dudes like XQC. He's like a gamer. He does esports to my knowledge, or he does gaming streaming, but he also does like live streaming. Yeah. And then you got this other dude who's hella cap named NMP. So many people. I can name so many people like Valkyrie, fucking all these guys. And they're all built their brands from like Twitch or like YouTube, just streaming, sitting in front of like a screen, having fun, playing whatever the fuck they're doing. And it's just so interesting to me that like these superstars that were like sort of, I guess the poster childs of previous generations of popularity in media are now like, not for relevancy, because I don't think Nicki Minaj has to fight for relevancy, but like to stay in front of another audience, they're her getting on his platform, Lil Baby getting on his platform, Offset getting on his platform, 21 Savage getting on his platform, Drake kind of showing up every once in a while. Like, you see the love, you see the appreciation for what they do, and it's very interesting. To me, they're the new rappers. Yeah, like I just see it. They're forming culture as is, and I just thought I just kind of wanted to bring it out to the audience. You know what I mean? The podcast, because I just felt like it's something that it was a conversation I was having with myself all week, and I'm like, dog, we got to talk about this because this is just something like crazy. And then I saw the Nicki Minaj thing last night, and I'm like, no, we got to talk about this.
And I feel that that's where I get to the point. I'm like, the whole bit thing with like Bobby that's something I wouldn't want to strive for. It's just we have right now, we have objectives where we're trying to achieve, and I agree with that. If you do things wholeheartedly and for the fun,
the enjoyment of it, the game of it.
I'm really excited to see where things go. Now I gotta unscrew this. But do you think there's any limitations to having fun, or is it how you approach things? Because that's how I feel. Like that's one thing I'm always afraid of, is because as we get into like deep conversations as well, or I guess depending on the guests we invite, do you think we'll ever reach limitation where like, oh, maybe that person is not an acceptable person, or we get into a debated talk?
That's a great question.
Because I only get afraid of like the whole cancel like culture type of things, or people's like start. I mean, but that's the thing. You're always going to encounter people who are judgmental
I would agree. Like, especially when you give your opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have like a thought that maybe you believe in type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
it would only make sense for there to be somebody to think the opposite. And not sense in the sense of it should happen, but like the possibility shouldn't be a surprising reality, if that makes sense for me. Right?
And I get, would you say you're someone that that cares if how the reaction goes or the thought of others?
No, which is a problem for me. I would say it's more of a problem than it is a benefit. It can be a benefit, and most people tend to use that type of mentality. Like, if you say something and you don't really care what other people think, because I'm somewhat of a recovering people pleaser, so I used to heavily care about what people thought. But I forget the moment in particular, but it was definitely something within like my college career, to where I had kind of like a click of like, well, outside of my family, what would they do for me? Like, it was like kind of like that realization of like my people pleasing came from it came from a place of lack. So I try to overcompensate with the lack. So these days it's just like, yo, if I genuinely think this or this is how I feel, I'll say it. But as I get older, I've learned, even though I may want to say this, I may have to say it in such a way that the other person can receive what I'm saying. Right. But as far as like niggas reacting to what I say and shit, like I think I've developed a pretty solid parameter of like, I don't care if it's my honest thought. Now, what I do care is if it offends you or if it makes you feel lesser than, in which case I would love for people to tell me. But the biggest problem with who I am and how like not caring what other people think, there are times where it does affect them, and I have to ask them to explain to me how it affects them, because I don't even process how it affected them, because my intent wasn't what their emotional reaction caused. You know what I mean? So like, for instance, just random example, that's not a real example, but just to give an example, like let's say I get an argument with my brother because I text him something, and then he calls me, he's like, yo, I don't like how you text that to me. I'm like, okay, well then why not? Proceeds to explain why, and I'm like, oh damn, you're right. Given what I texted and what the conversation or the context around that situation, you are 100% right. I am in the wrong. And I'm one of the very few people I would assume to be like, yeah, I'm wrong. How do I write this? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit on my high horse of my reaction because it's my reaction. Now, will I agree with my reaction? Yes, because I'm like, nigga, I thought that shit through. I have that opinion for a fucking reason.
Okay.
But that shouldn't allow me to be rigid and not mold and grow into understanding maybe what your side is, right?
Sure.
So I'm weird in that regard. I very much don't give a fuck, but it's like my don't give a fuck comes from a extreme of always giving a fuck. And so I had to I went to another extreme, and then I learned tact, which is, dude, yo, everybody who's watching this podcast right now, please, if there is one thing you can take from this podcast that's like a life skill or something that can heighten your life if you just took it, understand the concept of tact. Like the ability to take abrasive information and reduce the blow by choosing your words wisely. Like, such a valuable fucking skill set, like that most people just neglect due to ego or lack of education. Yeah. So, either or, right? And there are other reasons, but the main two that I've seen. So, yeah, dog. To answer your question, ultimately, dude, I don't give a fuck about these niggas sometimes. Yeah. But it's like, I don't disregard them. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck about your opinion unless you're trying to express something that might be wrong, in my opinion.
So, Tag, I feel like now, Tag, do you think do you think it only goes so far? Because I get to a point where I'm straight up as possible, but now I'm gonna bring in my job as a supervisor warehousing.
Oh yes, the team.
So now it's not even actually just that. I feel like doing the producing and as you're trying to grow, are you afraid of meeting executives or other musicians, artists, where now you're getting into the lingo of business talk? So now you have to play with words now and contracts are.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
How do you feel about that,
dog?
To be honest, I hate it, dude. Because
We'll
I
talk
feel
about
like I
that,
am someone who's like straight to the point, but like the thing is, being in warehousing, like being straight to the point with like rules or lingo or how you want to maneuver, it's like, oh, you have to approach things in a certain way sometimes, or like you have to come with facts or evidence.
Well, let's talk about it, because like, for instance, for all those of y'all watching, that'd be some bullshit that be happening at work sometimes. But I'm curious, because I always I just hear the random shit. So when it comes to being in your workspace and the rules and regulations, is the contention from you because the rules and regulations don't have a basis in logic in like the operations of the place, or is it they have so much of a basis in logic that they don't leave room for like creative interpretation or like freedom to operate how you operate? Like, is it like the latter or the former kind of thing?
It's the former. Like there's no basis to the policies or rule. I mean, of course, like you have to look over them, but let's see.
Let's give the people some sauce. How do
I explain it? So I guess one of the recent things was just like, vacation policy, and that was just they saw that there was, I guess, employees taking advantage. That's their way of saying it, is taking advantage of it. But in the end, they're like, okay, now we got to limit it to business needs because that's what the policy says, this and that. And my boss that was telling me about it, I was like, does it really say that though? And she was like, yeah, this and that. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to read it. And then she was like, okay, well, I forgot exactly what she said. And that's what I was just like, okay. Yeah, well, I just want to read it for myself. And then I read it, and we actually had a meeting about it with the whole team. And they're like, how do y'all feel about this? How do you approach this? The HR was there, like, how do you approach this? And then people are all like, okay, well, I thought we had limitations on this. And then I started talking. I was like, no, there's no limitations on this. This is what it says. And then in the end, like, our big boss was just kind of like, okay, I guess we'll come back to it. Now they want to see. So right now my company overall is getting very strict with all these policies and stuff, because the thing is they're trying to get rid of people.
Got it.
Our site is acquiring a different customer while we are losing a different customer. And so right now, as the primary customer is leaving and the secondary one is slowly expanding,
into becoming
we're over a head count of people. So now they're trying to they're trying to get serious with all these policies and trying to find the best possible ways to get people in trouble. Yeah, it's pretty annoying,
dude. Honestly, that just the context of that alone does I see it now, kind of your side of it, because it's like, I don't mind being for rules and regulations. They're typically there for a reason. Usually for like fairness or, freedom to some degree, ironically enough, as one may think. But like, dog, I don't know. Like, I feel like those situations, that's sort of the game of the corporate world.
And it is.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
is.
It's like,
so
you're playing for someone else's dream, So it's like, you are also just as expendable as you are helpful. So
and that's why I kind of like asked about the business talk and stuff. So that's where I get lost and stuff, where like, how open can I really be? Because I get straight up with them sometimes, but like, it's, again, I don't know what limitations I should cross where I'm like, okay,
I get that.
Now this is stopping anything I can do.
But
before you get into so I recently had a class I had to attend, and this one of the I guess teachers there, we had like 3 different teachers there. She was like head of HR. We had 3 different teachers there at this class I had to attend, and one of the ladies, she was like head of HR of some, I guess, section. And then we got into the whole class, and there was these questions about like, oh, hey, is there favoritism, or do you think there's people that have better advantages, this and that? And yeah, we kind of like got into different conversations, but in my head, I'm like, what about like actual relationships that you see in the warehouse or in the overall just job workplace? Because I'm not, everyone else in the room are different. They come from different sites and stuff, and who knows what they experience. But I know from what I experience, what do you, and they may also mention people like abusing power. So like, what do you do when you see almost people see people abusing power, and then the people that are also in power are okay with that? So like,
yeah, that's
it's like, yo,
no, dude, I get what you're saying. I think every industry has their form of that, because actually I don't know why, but I can tell you what my personal theory is and how I go about it, because I'm in the entertainment industry, right? So entertainment industry is cutthroat as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? As you can imagine, as you can imagine, the corporate world, right? Similar thing. There's the corporate world in the music industry, corporate world in the entertainment industry. And what I've noticed in those places, communication really seems to be the there's a couple differentiators, but one of the main differentiators between the leaders and sort of the non-leaders, if you will, because nothing stops you from being real and authentic in a business conversation. I think what makes that communication difficult is the intent of the results of that conversation, because in the majority of the time, bro, like, I'm not gonna hold you, like, if I'm talking to somebody that's an artist, typically, not always, but typically, because that's why there are very few great artists, most artists don't tend to have a long-term time cycle. They think they do, but it's more so they have a dream and then they have a short-term plan. And so whenever you talk to them about their career, or like try to advise, or like try to help out with where they're going, what problems they may have, they will only listen as far as what they believe or will think. Yeah. Now that's an artist, right? Yeah. I haven't dealt with enough executives to have a conversation on executives, but from my experience in sales, talking to other executives and people in higher positions than me, a lot of times that abuse of power doesn't always end, but starts from a capacity of capability. So they're able to exercise that authority because they're either in a position of power that they've acquired through the climbing up. So because of the suffering, they deem their actions allowable because they've suffered enough to have that freedom of voice, even though they should still be exercising the same level of tact as a lower position. Like, even though they're a C-level executive, they should still be exuding the same level of control and standard of excellence that they should expect out of their employees. But because certain people in those positions acquire them through having to fight through unfair treatment and the trauma of other people from a similar position, they perpetuate that in their own ways based off their personality. And so it's like, I've seen that, but then I've also seen where it's from ignorance because they are given something of high responsibility that they lack the capability of. And from their inability, they ineffectively communicate and put other people in difficult situations. And instead of taking responsibility, they deflect. And from their deflection, it shows their weakness and incapability. But because of their positioning, it frames this sort of narrative of the rest of the people within that executive chain when it's really only that one toxic person. And those are the two things I've seen and experienced and kind of what that goes like. But, you know, to your point, I mean, dog, it's difficult. I think that's an issue in every industry, and I don't think it's going to change because I don't think it's not an industry issue. It's a people issue. It's a person problem. It's someone not putting in the work within themselves or having too much hubris to not see where they could possibly pivot, change, and grow. I struggle with it, so I understand how it can be difficult to pivot. Like, some could say I'm a little bit too patient for my own good with things, right? So it's like,
I get told I'm too nice all the time.
Oh, same. But like, I've learned when it's enough of the same thing from people I trust as well as people I don't trust, now it's something I have to address. And a lot of people in those positions of power, because of that wall they have between them and the common person, and there's a limited amount of people that can check them and who they are. And if everybody else is already in that same mindset within that infrastructure of business or whatever the fuck, they're not going to give a damn how they treat the other person. Because they want to make sure when they go through that, they get the same level of like, I get the fuck out of here, you know, which ultimately is politics, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would call it politicking in the industry, which I think I do a pretty decent job of, even though I don't like it, because it's at the end of the day, like, for instance, let's say you play a song for me, right? Cool song, vibe song, whatever the fuck. I think it's trash. That is my personal opinion. I think you don't have the best chords. I don't think whatever. Like, just the music is not enjoyable. That's my personal opinion, right? But now, if you're an artist or a producer playing something for me in hopes of having a critique or a feedback that can be constructive, I can't just tell you it's trash because I'm telling you a problem. Instead, what I should tell, if I hear a problem, if I speak on the problem, I should have a solution or a plan of action to find a solution if I'm addressing your problem. If I'm just addressing your problem, we are not moving forward.
Yeah.
There is no growth here.
Yeah.
There's only destruction here in this conversation because I'm calling out something that you probably already knew and you were hoping I can either validate your opinion or invalidate your opinion and show you that maybe you are looking at your project in an improper way. Which, if I was thinking it's trash, I'd probably be invalidating their opinion.
Yeah.
Right? And so how I would address it is like, yo, I think it's a solid attempt, but I think you may be falling short in a couple ways. Or I might even not even go into that. I might just be like, what's your vision with this record, right? Because like it depends. If the person already told me the vision, I'll go right into like the critique. But if they haven't told me the vision of the record, I'm like, yo, so what are you trying to do with this record? It sounds very interesting. Because it is interesting. It's interestingly trash. But you know, like, what are you doing here? Then it's like, well, you know, I'm trying to do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here, but I think you've fallen short in a couple ways because you maybe probably didn't pick the best chords for this progression, or maybe you could have selected some different drums here just because I feel like you wanted to go for that boom pap sound, but instead you went for a boom sound. Like, just ways to subtly point out to them where they could rethink their approach.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing with me. My songwriting is shit. My melodies are okay. My beats can be dope, but sometimes they can be extra.
Yeah.
I'm aware of my creative process because I allow objective opinion to enter my creative process as a form of letting me know what is delusional in my thought of myself and what is objectively fact.
Yeah.
And some people just want to live in their delusion.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for them to take those type of critical opinions, which is why tact is useful, because you can't just tell niggas that shit is trash. Because in the creative world, they also, unlike other industries, the creative world is difficult because art is expression ultimately. And if you critique the art, a lot of the artists fairly, but also falsely assume you're critiquing them.
Yeah.
So, you know, that goes its own way.
That's something I personally got to get better with because
it's tough.
It's tough. I usually get straight to the point, to be honest.
And I don't blame you. I feel like a lot of people like yourself, they like executing, you know, they like getting shit done quickly so they can have more fun type shit. But with people, it's unfortunately not that simple.
Oh yeah, I know it's not, sadly. Like I'm glad I have people in my life where I could I think bluntly honest with, but that's the thing I wish I could get better at, just because I know I've had a few instances where people because that's the thing, I don't say anything until you ask me, because I know if I say something, it's probably going to come off as a little hurtful, and I don't mean it like that.
Yo, but check it out though. It's like that I don't even know what a therapist would say it is, but I feel like that is something that maybe you've developed as a trauma response from constantly saying how it is. So you're like, instead of just saying shit, I just won't say anything at all.
Yeah.
But that's also destructive, because think about it this way, right? Let's say you are knowledgeable on the topic and you address it at its core. That moment of checking that person and addressing the situation when you see it could be the moment of, they say fuck you, they hate you. But if they're of the right mindset and they learn a growth mindset and you're correcting them from a place of, I know this and I think this would better you, you shouldn't feel that is bad, because you're really helping them. Yeah. But that gets into another tricky conversation of what is our place to comment on, right? Yeah. And that's how I feel like too. Here's the thing. In the workplace, I feel, because of the nature of corporate America and how things are structured, if you are in a position of power and if you are a manager or something of that sort, you have an obligation, especially if you're older and have more wisdom, to impart some level of like wisdom and knowledge upon to your employees. Is it necessary? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. But I feel there is some unspoken responsibility, like, hey, I'm a manager, I'm leading over these people. Let's say you're a 14-year-old managing, not 14, like 18-year-old managing like 20-somethings. They're probably not going to listen to you talk about personal shit, right? But if you're fucking good at what you do and you hear people's problems and you establish rapport and relationships, they will respect what you say. You know what I mean? Like they may not like be like, okay, whatever the fuck. Like, but if you're like, yo, so the way you did this Excel sheet or the way you handled this situation, I think it wasn't the best because this person wanted to do this and you wanted to do this, but this is what ended up happening. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have done what you did, but I think if you wanted to achieve this result, this is how you could have approached it. Don't take this as a personal attack, but I do know you're capable of more. So let's look at this and this to see maybe if this situation happens again, we might not have the same result.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to be older than somebody to have that conversation if you're aware of communication. And most people aren't because those skills aren't necessarily taught. They're soft skills. Some are hard, but some of those are soft skills. So I say all that to say, dog, it's really just how you communicate.
I agree with you on that too.
It's just coming from a place of intent, I feel. Even if you don't have the knowledge, like fucking at least being clear with your intent. Yeah,
I feel with that exactly. Like I even do these little personal reviews. So that's definitely where my tact comes in because recently I had someone where they're not. I think they're great. To be honest, I think they are a great person. They just get distracted a lot. So that was just the main topic of our whole review. Like I told her like what she was really all great at, but in the end, I was like, look, you have fallen short in these places, this and that. And the thing is, she's also one of the employees who are like outspoken and get defensive when they get critiqued. So they would have excuses or they're like, oh, what about this person or that person? And I'm like, look, I understand this and that, but like we're talking about you. And pretty much I just reiterated like, look, this is just what you need to work on. I mean, it's not that much of a big deal, but overall, like I know what you've been doing. I've seen the initiative you've also shown because you've also been trying to do a little more. But I'm like, if you do want to continue to grow, there is things you do need to stop.
For sure. And I think that you're coming from a place where it's like you're showing the path, you're showing what you see. And if they really do want to grow and they want to like have a good time at the job, it would be worth their time to listen, you know? Especially knowing you because you've actually been at those positions. Because I remember you were working this company for a minute.
Oh boy, 6 years, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like you can definitely use your experience to speak to other people's experience as well. But I want to pivot this because we do have another convo that this is actually of the topics of today, this is actually a little bit more serious.
Damn, I forgot about this one.
This one's a bit of a doozy. Okay, so real quick, just like context for this convo, right? So me and Basik, we're attempting, all right? For those of you in the comments that are about to go ballistic if we butcher this one, we're attempting to do more current events because we're keeping up more with world events and we think a lot of these things do affect us in America and we feel there's a problem with the newer generation of people, which is entertainment first, knowledge second is the best way I could put it, which is I feel a lot of us are blinded by our day-to-day lives that we don't realize other people don't have the luxuries we have freely in this country. And so paying attention to current events is another way we could all be more proactive in our communities because we're aware other people are trying to be proactive in their communities. I feel there's a thin line with this shit though, because like with what's been going on with Israel, Hamas, which that isn't the topic of the conversation, but just to give context about what we're about to get into, it's like when you get into global conversations, even politics, like current events, it gets tricky because what's true, what's not true, and then even what is true, once that's agreed upon, like what is the right thing to do? And then you get a conversation of morality, which is very difficult, morality and ethics. So with that context, like just letting y'all know we're attempting current events. Don't flame us if we miss like 10 pieces of information. We're figuring this shit out. That being said, though, Basik, take it away.
Which I'm excited with doing that because, like, as you know, coming off of the talk of like lingo and thing, and I've told you this before. The point of doing stuff like this is, I told Natty, I want this to mature, and I think this is a very good balance of doing, you know, our parts of entertainment.
Without a doubt.
Because to be honest, like the Kai, Nicki Minaj, I see bits of stuff like that. Like creativity wise, I try to stick to like my photography or like this, I guess, philosophical points of things, or how can I do to be creative? I don't see like some of this side of things.
Yeah.
But now like with current events, like podcasts I've been recently watching, like things they say, which I feel, I mean, and I feel like here we can say I feel like we're more open to say things when it comes to podcasts and stuff. There is a worry where you kind of, I guess, can get canceled or people judge, but I think in the end, we're here to be authentic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want to share my point of view in things. And next episode, if we get into like, if Israel, Hamas are still going,
which Gaza, is more than likely,
if it's still happening in the next few months, of course, if we get into that conversation, and I'll do my research, of course, because that's the thing. I don't want to enter too many conversations where I don't know everything. Like right now, I am just like reading segments and stuff like that. But if we're going to get into a conversation, I do want to come in with knowledge and then have my actual point of view of things. And then in the end, this will be a field of personal respect towards other people's views.
Yeah.
And if we end up live streaming this as well, like, comment sections,
which there is going to happen. Yeah. Which, hey, for those of y'all, comment down below what type of food you'd like us to see us bake.
Yeah, for real.
Because we are planning a baking stream. It's just super tedious for us, but it's happening.
It's going to happen.
So deadass, like if you want to see Basik, make a red velvet cupcake, comment that below in the comment section, please.
I only did that one baking. I baked some cookies for my mom. That post I made.
Fuck it, hey, dude.
Yo,
that's bad. This guy.
I haven't baked like that though.
But yeah, comment that below. Whatever you'd like to see us bake. But to take it away. What we got on the current event segment of the day, my guy.
So yeah, like as Natty said, we're attempting to get into the current events. So I've taken some notes over these little, I guess,
cheat sheets for sure.
Yeah, cheat sheets, newsletters I get in my emails. So I don't know too much about the conference itself. I kind of just know the basis of things and I guess a little bit of who's involved. I don't know the outcome of it. I think it ended yesterday.
Oh wow! So this is like recent.
Yeah. It was like I think a whole week thing.
Oh shit! Okay,
I think so. If not just a couple of days. But I mean, overall, we're talking about here. Let me get this off real quick so I can see and
adjustments.
Speak. Yes,
adjustments. It's basic.
All right. So overall, I'm gonna kind of read the whole thing. Climate advocates say the weak language in the new draft indicates that the COP28 presidency, which oversees the conference and writes the agreement, is pandering the oil-producing nations. And the circumstances around this year's conference aren't good for beating the who thwarted allegations. Pretty much the new draft is, so from what I know, I guess COP28 presidency, I guess COP28 is the organization or the organization. It's I'm not sure how many countries are involved, but it's definitely by the dozens. A majority of the world is involved in this, and they agreed last conference that they would, lower emissions by 2 to 5%. Again, don't call me on all this, but we're not meeting standards. And the head of this conference now is the president of this conference is Sultan Al Jaber, an Imatari politician who runs the UAE state-owned oil company. He came under fire last week for claiming that there's no science to support the need for fossil fuel phase out, which he walked back the next day. So again, I wouldn't know exactly what that is.
Hey man, that's a case of fuck them kids.
Yeah.
And then the next day be like, oh wait, those are our kids? My bad. Don't fuck them kids.
Like so the whole point of this is everyone's trying to phase out of fossil fuels, of course the best way they can. But everyone's kind of just not meeting, and I think it's supposed to be due by 2050. We're supposed to hit a certain goal, and again, we're falling short of that because, according to scientists, the world's getting hotter. I feel like that's true. Seasons changing and whatnot, but we're not doing it. And it was very, I guess, how would you say, a weird environment for this conference because again, the president was an oil. he was a president of an oil company.
That's kind of sus, bro. I mean,
big sus.
Here's the thing. I'm so uneducated on this shit, but like, you know, context clues, read between the lines.
Exactly.
I'm like, dude, there's obviously some agenda here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the agenda is, hey, let's put on our conspiracy theories hats. They can go crazy. But like, it is obvious that they wouldn't want a phase out of oil because who has the surplus of oil?
Mm-hmm.
Fill in the blank said people within that association. At least no Saudi Arabia is known for that anyway. But it's like, you know, I get it. I'm trying to look at it from his perspective, right? Like let's try to be like, you know, see at their side. He's like, y'all trying to get to all this renewable energy. We got all this oil right here that could be funding our economy for like, you know, whatever the fuck. So it's like, why would I want to lose such a surplus, especially if it's leverage, which I believe they may have enough to be like, yo, this is essentially us losing our leverage if we shift the use of fossil fuels out and do this other shit, right? So I'm like, okay, I get it. You're going to weaken in your, you know, UN power maybe, or that's going to affect your economic standing in some way, which could leave you vulnerable to some attack from somebody in some way. Get it.
Yeah.
But should that encourage the destruction of the planet that you're trying to have set country and like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't see the longer term thinking, but it also doesn't matter because who cares, right? Like, if they seem to have enough power and influence to where it's like, I just want my side to be okay, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's where I get to the thing. I mean, for me, it's something I don't know how you would say it, nihilistic or whatever, but I mean, I feel like in the end of all things, a lot of things do come to money and power. Yeah. Everything in this world.
It's very difficult to like, not get to that, I feel.
Yeah. And so that's where, again, I don't know the whole backstory to these things or like what really needs to be done.
Comment that in below.
But it's just like, what? In the end, I feel like it's money for them, or it's like I feel like they can limit it, but in the end, they're just like, no, buy from us as much as you can because we're trying to profit as much as we can. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter where the end game is going, or we're too greedy to think about the end game.
Exactly, like it could be something as so simple as just the greed exceed. It's like seeing red. Like once you're pissed off as fuck, it's just all you see is red.
Because again, I feel like they could limit the. You know, it doesn't. They're not saying eliminate the whole fossil fuel. I mean, I believe if there's a solution to that, if we could, then it would benefit us as a whole in the world. But in the end, no, there won't be a whole elimination of oil. It's just y'all got to find ways to drop it, a little bit.
Sheesh, yeah, but that just seems like a tough deal. You know what I mean? Like, even just looking at some of the notes, like it just seems to be very much like, what is the next step, right? Because it's what they need, like a. What is it? They need like a approval?
So what does it say? What now? I'm not going to read that third paragraph. UN climate summit deals need unanimous approval to pass, with some representatives considering the current draft a death sentence. Per Reuters, there will likely either be more revisions or no agreement at all. See, so this is where I get into earlier, how we were talking. Yeah, they kind of left this conference not knowing what the fuck is really going to happen, because I guess in the end, again, they were just trying not to talk about phasing out overall. They kept trying. I guess they tried to keep the conversation in oil is the way to go, or And it's so like now, again, like I said, now they're either gonna keep making revisions. Who knows how long like stuff like that takes, or there's just no agreement at all. So like what the hell? Yeah, no, it's just that to me. Like if I were to dumb that down to like a regular conversation, it's like, hey, we all said we were going to go to McDonald's, but Billy's been telling us we're going to Jack in the Box forever. And now he's like, yo, there's no reason why we, like, you know what I mean? Like, actually, that's a terrible analogy. But my point, it was pretty terrible. But my point with the analogy is like, yo, you could tell very much. They're like, hey, don't take away my oil. That lets me have fun. It's like, well, your oil's fucking up everyone else's fun and our kids' fun. I don't know, man. Well, that doesn't bode well. But if I were to have like a final statement on that for me personally, I'll say, guys, like, let's do our part in where we can influence stuff. So if you have a community or like a local government that you can have a say in, have that voice, be that voice, because when you have so much power
and you can literally just prolong the inevitable, which could be a very unfavorable future, that's not a great place to be, I would say. And I feel like that can be avoided by just having the voices of scientists and other people not be silenced. But the thing is, it can't be silenced if everybody is in support, which I will... To pivot from this conversation to a little bit more like a positive outlook, I will say what's been going on with, like, you know, the Israel-Hamas stuff, which has kind of been a big social media climate, which prayers out for Congo, because there's so many other places that are going through so many traumatic things too. For real. But just because Israel and Hamas is kind of fresh on everyone's mind and whatnot, due to various propaganda and things of that nature, I will say it has shown me that the younger generation, and you guys will notice I'm a fan of the younger generations as of recent, because they are really showing how to take action behind their ideals and their worldviews. Some not so great, some pretty good. And they'll give it a voice. They'll use their platforms. They'll band together. They'll create groups. They will share information that's not just hearsay, but factual articles. They'll call their secretaries or senates, the board of House, whatever the fuck. Like, they'll do these things, which, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that in the sense of, oh, that's great for y'all. I'm not going to do it. I still try to play my part by, even in recent years, just getting more educated about this stuff and actually voting. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which vote, it matters. I know it for those of us who are minority standing, you may think it doesn't, or it just doesn't feel like it is. And for the most part, there's enough power in the government to where it may not, if someone has enough financial investment in a certain outcome, right? But I do not think that should stop us from voting. What it should even promote us to do more is to speak out. Yes. Because voting is one of the things. It is the simplest thing we can do our best part in, and it's what, people who want to lobby and have their own opinions in politics, like, will try to attack. But it is one of the very few liberties of a couple other liberties that Americans have that we need to protect and we need to take part in. That being said, though, I mean, please don't be a fucking idiot if someone votes for somebody else. Like, I get it. Politics is very heated right now. We're in a bipartisan country. But, like, try to understand policy. Because that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm really trying to understand, like, politics, policy, and really what it means. Yeah. One, because I'm trying to write about it more. Okay. But on top of that, I'm like, if this system is as flawed as it is there any good at all? And if there's no good at all, what am I voting for? I'm really trying to come to understanding of that answer. Granted, unfortunately for some hearing this, I am still holding on to the lesser of two evils ideology until I can learn more about policy and politics.
Yeah, I hear that though, because I kind of see things. It's in the end, it is lesser of two evils.
I mean, it's
a whole other conversation. Again, I'm not educated on everything, but politics in itself, sadly, it's down to two parties. When there's more parties involved in the beginning, but it always comes down to the last two.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're all backed by fucking money. In the end, it's companies.
Yeah, laundering. Like we're really ran by billionaires. TBH. But
that's what I was gonna get at though with the voting. I don't know. Can we get into the pregnancy a little bit?
Yeah, no, let's talk about that. Actually, that was actually the one thing I want to transition.
So voting. This is why I say voting is important because we're talking. I think I just know Kate. Kate first name. I'm not sure last name. Recently in Texas, she had to get an abortion out of state. I'm not sure where she went because she had to go to court to even try to get an abortion here in Texas, and it was taking too long before they even came to a decision. So again, she went out of state, got the abortion, but her baby was diagnosed with something that I guess was life-threatening to her.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what
the
fuck.
Dude, here's the thing. It's at a point now to where I understand the pro-life argument predominantly, which is like, hey, that child doesn't have the ability to even make a decision. It's a human being too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, which... The conversation from last I remember, because I actually had a class on this in college, which it's been long enough to where it's obviously not as fresh on my mind, but the ethos of the conversation that I remember was the fight isn't between if the baby is a person. You know what I mean? Like, there's not like, oh, is a zygote a human, so killing it? Like, that's not where the conversation is with abortion and pro-choice and all that. What it seems to be is whose rights matter more. Does the mother have the rights to her body? Does that matter more than the child's right to life? And it's very interesting because it's like, I understand the side of like the pro-life where it's like, hey, there's potential here. There is untapped potential, which one could argue for worse or for better, but they would always pitch it for better because it's life at the end of the day, especially if you're a humanist. Humanist, stoic, mystic, there's like different ideologies and philosophies. You would tend to think you lean towards pro-life. But for me, I think if you are truly pro-life, you leave room for choice. Because pro-choice, especially the extremists for pro-choice, I'm not a fan of them. I don't agree with them.
What are extremists for pro-choice?
I can only speak of one because I only know one person who feels this extreme. So it's not a general statement. This is just a very specific to that person's statement.
Okay.
But there's like people who hold to the thought with pro-choice, like, I want the freedom to do whatever I want with my body. And that's kind of just where their conversation ends. It's not really an intellectual conversation. It's more so a hedonistic mindset that pro-choice should be very much a thing for this country because of the freedom of which I should be able to do whatever I want with my body. And the government shouldn't govern my body or have a limited approach to governing my body, whatever the fuck, right? I don't fuck with that. Not because of the limited government part, but specifically like you're hedonistic. You having a hedonistic lifestyle and using that as an excuse to not accommodate for others who live in a country that might harm. Very selfish, very narrow-minded. I don't fuck with. However, the pro-choice kind of pro-life stance that does hold on to pro-choice sort of sentimentality that I personally hold to is life should always be valued because that's what all of us try to have more of, have a fuller life, have a happier life, ideally, right? And it's not so much that in the case of an abortion for a mother, should it be a thing? It should only be allowed or permitted if it is a life-threatening situation. Now, this is where my pro-life stance gets very controversial for some, because I don't think abortion should be possible if you had sex out of wedlock unless you were raped. That's my stance on that, and I'm pretty adamant.
So you would agree if the woman wanted an abortion because she got raped, like
she should have it. She should have the freedom to have that. Child, adult, I don't care. You should be able to have it. Is it right? I don't think so. Morally speaking, from my religion and my belief, I don't think it is right. But because of the fucking country we live in and the ability that you should have the autonomy to make decisions for your life, especially if it was something that's traumatic, and looking at that child might, because I don't think it does. Once a child is born, I think it's a beautiful thing. But looking at that child might bring back memories of that very traumatic moment for you, especially if it's something tied to the death of other people. Because there's a lot of cases where that's tied to that. So it's like, I don't know. It's very hard for for me to tell someone don't have that abortion.
Okay. I
feel there's too much authority coming from me to stop that. And that's where I feel pro-lifers will step on that reality. But if you're around here fucking people and then you get pregnant and you don't want to have the baby because you were fucking around with people and you don't want to have that responsibility, I'm sorry. And this is just me, by the way. So this is my opinion. Feel free to criticize me. You chose to fuck with people. And a consequence for that action, although very low if you do it responsibly, is still having a child. So you should expect the reality of that being a consequence for your decisions. Because life isn't something haphazard that you can just toy around with. But because of the casual sex revolution, like the 1960s or 70s, that has distorted that conversation. And so for me, I'm like, let's just be pragmatic about our ideology around abortion. Let's just be real fucking listic about this shit. Like, yes, it is disgusting. It is terrible. I've seen what an abortion looks like, especially some that take later. You're essentially cutting a fucking baby in half. It's not great. It's not fun. It's not the shit you want to be hearing about.
It's not pretty.
And that's one of them. I'm pretty sure there's other abortions. I'm a biology student. I should know more. Sue me. But, like, it's just not a pleasant thing for the mother. And I've known some women who've had abortions, and it's a very difficult thing to go through. It's a very, like, one, they're going into your body in a very uninvasive way. Yeah. And it's this whole process. And it's like, there's just a lot of emotions that happen for the women that go through this. Like, it's not just, haha, snip, snip, done, I'm out. Some it is, which I think they're demons. Yeah. But, like, for the most part, it's still a very fucking difficult procedure to go through, even if you have to go through it for the sake of just, like, the emotional trauma. Yeah. Now, there's obviously people who don't go through that, and maybe there's a very vocal minority that's speaking on this topic. But in my position, in my stance on this, I think it's very foolish, very selfish, very irresponsible to take the opportunity of choice away from a mother, especially when life is threatened. Yeah. I just don't think there is any place for any human authority to really speak on that outside of the mother of the child and maybe the father of the child. Maybe. And the maybe is very, 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 very seldom few exceptions for that maybe. But it's difficult because this gets to our initial conversation we had about policy and politics. It's like, well, then how does government implement better policy around this? Comes from the people fucking talking. But I also think there's a lot of, like, social agendas and cancel culture around having this type of opinion. But yeah, dude, this case, and by the way, for all of those who are interested in the story, you can find it actually on the Dallas Observer Instagram. They have a really cool setup to where you can go to the link in their bio, and all their posts have, like, an article post on it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, like, I really recommend looking into that story and honestly taking action. Me personally, I am going to be taking action on a lot of the policies and things I believe in the near future, because this actual past year and a half has been a very reflective year for me because I started writing. And for all those who are writers, I respect you heavily, especially in recent years, because the process of writing has shown me so much of what I think and feel and believe and hold to be true. And I've realized that I haven't been doing my part in my community because I've been holding on to a childish mentality that I feel a lot of other millennials have, to where it's like, I feel millennials are one of the very few generations that stuck to their childish ways up until their, like, adulthood, and some in a good way and some in a bad way, because there's some benefits to, like, having a childlike wonder. It's like creativity. But then there's also the childlike naivety. Naivete. There it is. Naivete. Yeah, where it's like, it's a very childish, just limited, inaccurate view of the world. Yeah. And it forces a lot of ideologies and politics that are unrealistic. Yeah. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
And that's, again, where I get to, like, the voting part of things, because it's right now, I mean, they're even, Ohio is another restrictive state on, like, these abortion laws. And they're talking about making it illegal to even go out of state,
which is insane.
And then Texas themselves recently as well. I think it was a part of the cake case, or it was a different thing, or it was just a different segment in general. But there was, I think, women ended up calling out websites were being removed, any kind of option to have an abortion anywhere, or finding information about it was almost nearly impossible. And it was called out, and again, I'm not sure how it ended, but I'm like, it's wild to think about that. And depending, again, who's voted into government, it is fearing to think about where those laws can go.
Yeah. And also too, it's like, bro, a lot of this does come from, I would say, lack of education. Yeah.
And that's what I want to do, man. We got
to educate, bro. So try to make education fun.
But to be honest,
because it's just, bro, I'm seeing more of it towards just we need to be more knowledgeable. We need to be more knowledgeable. And even for us, right? Like, we know in our lives we're trying to do more, which is why we make this content for y'all. Yes. Because we want to know more, so y'all can know more. Exactly. So we can all know more. Yo. And we just do more together.
Yes, sir.
But, in this process of knowing more basic, we also want to have fun, right? Yeah. And so it leads us to the last segment of the podcast for the day, which is a new segment we're trying out. Just because we got a new mixer, we're going to try to get the fuck out because we can. We're going to be reacting to some new music.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's not as new because it's really last week's music, because this week's music comes out in 2 hours. And we're not giving you a 3-hour podcast. Sorry, not sorry. Maybe later. Follow us on YouTube.
3-hour podcast.
Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Instagram.
Yeah.
Subscribe on Pornhub. All that stuff.
Oh,
so,
whoa.
whoa. So today, all right, we're going into my Discover Weekly, which we'll probably do basics next to. You know, we're open to whatever. Now, I'm not gonna lie. We were low key bumping this on accident a little bit earlier. I'm gonna just preface this real quick. We got Alien Love Call by Turnstile, Bad Bad Not Good, and Blood Orange. Running that shit. Yo. Nah, shit's gas.
Yeah, he played this earlier. I was like, yo, this has to be the intro to like every episode or something.
Yo, low key, it might be.
Like, to be honest, I told her like 30 seconds to a minute fuck around or whatever, and this is just playing in the background.
Bro, it's just this vibe.
Yeah. Alright.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm not mad at this. Hold up.
You got 85 followers?
Yeah.
85K? 85K.
Hey, I'm about to say, hold on.
Yeah.
Hey, that's Via. We are sorry.
Listen.
No, this is...
Oh, okay, it was subtle. Yeah. I wasn't expecting a... I like the subtle. And then it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Has to.
Yeah.
Yo, this song, yeah, I like this one. We're on 2 fire songs right now.
Bro, for real.
Oh.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I kind of like that little transition.
Hey. Okay, Flo Millie. Beat already got
Have
me.
You ever heard of her?
Yeah. She's been kind of popping off recently.
He's speeding the right, fall his hand on my coochie. He touching a millio poochie. Doing good, bitch, I'm Gucci. Fly to Asia, he feeding me sushi. When we fuck.
Yeah.
I'm geeking on X with my head in your coochie.
Ooh.
I might put you on covers like Suki. I'm so hood, I'm so bougie. With a flash, we could turn this into Tubi. I'ma snack on your booty like Scooby. Rolls roll like a Ruby. Squirt like a dolphin, my mouth a jacuzzi. Put it in your 3 hoes like a loose sleep. Baby, holy, she hate when I sing. Flying around, fell in love with Berlin. I'm on wild, never gin. Ain't no stop it, I take it a 10. I won't judge you for none of your sins. I'm geeking and back in my band. Stepping and swinging off for my can. Need to kill yourself if you lose me.
Yeah.
I eat your booty like Scooby. That's what he said, bro. That was my favorite line.
I just got that.
That was my favorite line he said.
Oh, that's hard, Eddie. Yo. Okay, all right, yo. So basic, I think we can wrap up on that, boy.
Yeah.
We don't want to give them too much of this craziness right here. I will say, actually, real quick, plug. And for all those of you watching this podcast and you are an independent artist or somebody on the come up with your creative act, please DM Basic or myself at ThaniaBear and just send us your stuff. Yeah. We would love... We're building this. It's a platform. We want it to be for upcoming creatives, people who express their thoughts, their abilities. So please follow up with us. We want you to have a platform and a voice. Yes. But if you are capping and wilding, we will not respond.
For real, though.
So just a little bit of respect and tact. Hey, see, if you show some tact, we might figure it out. But regardless, I'll leave the last bit up to you, B.
I mean, you kind of said it well, honestly. To be honest, yeah, hit us up. I mean, we do have a list of people that I still want to contact and get in touch with. That's the whole point of this, is to meet almost different variety of people, different backgrounds, people overall that can bring value to a conversation. Even, I mean, improve mine. I do like to conversate, but I don't believe I'm that educated on a lot of things. Though I know a little bit about a lot as well. But again, that's why I want to meet people that bring value to a conversation, want to share their experiences and what they feel like could be beneficial words to the world or their people.
Facts.
Yes, sir.
Facts. Yeah, I guess on that note, see y'all niggas later.
That's it.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Oh, shit. We hit the marker, my boy. Woo! Feels good. Let me hear this back super. Oh, it's mixed perfectly. I don't have to touch this shit.